What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bullish AF. I am your host, Whit Gibbs, aka Bitcoin Broski. I'm amped today. This is a conversation that I've really been looking forward to. I've got a good friend on the show. He has an awesome product and a company that he has been working his ass off on for a while. And it's exciting to see good things come to fruition. But enough of my rambling. Welcome to the show, Reggie Jerath, CEO of Gather. Reggie, welcome, man.
Whitney, thanks for having me, man. I am super stoked to be here. This is, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Dude, we've known each other for a while, and I guess I should go through some disclosure. So before we get too far into this, Reggie and I have known each other for a while now. We have talked about and are probably going to move forward with integration with Hashrate operating system when we are ready for that to launch. So we have been working together for a while. I have a vested interest in seeing Gather succeed, and I am excited to see Reggie and his team succeed. So if it sounds like I'm biased, it's because I fucking am. And I'm stoked for this, right? As an entrepreneur, it's a hard thing. It's a hard path. It's not always easy. And Reggie, I know you and your team have been grinding for what, 2 years?
3 years almost. Yeah, man. It's been a hell of a ride, dude. 3 years and counting, almost at least.
Wow. Well, so I guess before we get into Gather, let's talk about you. So I know your story, and there's some wild stuff in there. But how did you get started? What was your professional path like to the founding of Gather? What were you doing before?
I don't think it's like what most people would kind of how they get their first exposure to cryptocurrency. So I started my career in oil and gas, right? I was managing about 200 or 250 people in Iraq for two different bases in Basra and Erbil. And it was fun. I mean, you don't usually put those two words together, Iraq and fun, but it was a good time initially, right? And then ISIS invaded, and then it wasn't very fun, just putting it flat.
Sure.
Yeah, so we had to end up shutting up. We had to, close down and everything because of security concerns and all of that. And after evacuating everyone, literally person by person, border, either trying to go to the border or flights or whatever the hell it may be. After it was very few people left, I left. And I was like, shit, I don't want anything to do with oil and gas ever again in my life. That was just a crazy experience. I mean, worth it one end because you're in a land that's almost lawless. Just giving I guess a little example is that to get money in the country, you go to Western Union, right? Every week, every oil and gas company comes with literally armored cars and just picks up sacks of cash from Western Union and goes back to their bases because what bank exists? Literally, it's a sight to see, right?
I mean,
yeah.
don't people hold up Western Union? I mean, it seems like kind of an easy target.
Well, I guess they have bigger things to worry about than robberies, to be honest. Lawless land and trying to do business there is a very different atmosphere compared to a regulated environment. And so amazing learning experience. Definitely don't want to do it again. Once was enough.
Sure.
After all that, I took a 360 and went into advertising. I was scouted, I guess, by an advertising company called MSL Group, part of Publicis Group. They specifically bought me on for an oil and gas client because they didn't have any technical knowledge. Joined them, interesting experience, pretty good, honestly. Learned about copywriting, design, media buying, et cetera, the ins and outs. Hopped around between different agencies, and I founded my first startup, which was a tech-enabled personal concierge. You just text them whatever you want via the app or whatever it may be, and we'd get it delivered, right? Get it to you. Then pivoted into a logistics platform. So we were doing deliveries for banks, supermarkets, people. And towards the end of it, so my co-founder and CFO, Farouk, we've known each other for a long time. And that year he had quit KPMG full-time, right? To go full-time crypto trader. And we were always talking about crypto, et cetera. And my interest was always on the mining side and the POW side. I was trying to actually get my hands on LTC plus miners in China. but that just didn't end up working out. And at that point around then, someone had hired me to consult for their website how to monetize it. So when I went there, he didn't want to use ads or anything like that, because I mean, who really likes ads, honestly? Like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't think I know a single person that actually clicks on an ad, seriously speaking. This stupid.
It's a big pain in the
Uh,
ass.
it's a straight pain in the ass, yeah. So he brought me on board and I discovered CoinHive. Now, for those not familiar with CoinHive, it was one of the first JavaScript-based Monero miners without consent. That idea, trading processing power for revenue, is powerful, is extremely powerful. But the way these guys went and did it, it just, people aren't going to accept it. Publishers, major websites aren't going to accept it.
So let's jump in on that for a second. Just for anyone who doesn't understand, explain what mining without consent actually is.
Theft. Theft, malware.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, my computer, I'm surfing the web. I find a website. I visit the website. I'm there. As I'm on the site, that site is using my compute to mine, in this case, Monero, to their wallet, unbeknownst to me.
Yes. So it can be classified as malware. In its essence, it is you should be getting some part of that money to an extent, or at least you're consenting. You're giving your permission for this to happen, right?
Right.
So it's really simple. As you said, someone comes to a website, their system's power is being used to mine Monero, and the proceeds of which are just going to the website owner at that point, which is, unethical. Yeah. So we got the initial team together because we're like, there's an idea here. There's a powerful idea, but it's just not executed correctly how CoinHive did it. So brought the initial team together. We modified the idea into what version 1 was. We raised a seed round of 325,000. We went and built the MVP. And at that point, the MVP was really super simple: a multi-miner mining different cryptocurrencies based on the profitability with inbuilt payouts and consent. Consent, being the key here. You had to get consent from your users, then paying out via local bank transfer, etc., Bitcoin or whatever the publisher wanted. So we're publisher friendly, user friendly, all of it. We went and presented in Rise Hong Kong at the end of 2018, onboarded a number of users. Everyone loved it. It made a lot of sense. Didn't have to show ads, making extra money, or in some cases, or most cases rather, alternative form of monetization, if you will. Then sadly, in 2018, the ICO, we were planning to have an ICO and the bear market hit us horribly. And we were like, okay, we can't raise funds in ICO in a bear market. Let's just table this and put in 200K of our own money and just go forward, right? Tighten the belts, whatever.
Yep.
Did it, and we went in 2019, where our CTO joined us, Ashish, who spent about 19 years in different tech companies. One of his key roles being leading the Center of Excellence in Atlanta for the data center operations. So he has extreme deep cloud computing experience. Going forward, we kept building, we kept expanding the team, all of that, right? And at the end of 2019, or somewhere around 2019, I used processing power to mine cryptocurrencies. Why don't we use it to, as an alternative form for cloud computing? Can we use this processing power? Will it make sense? So we built the financial model first. We're like, this is a good idea, but does it make financial sense? We built the financial model and it made sense. We then went, we kept iterating upon it about what's needed, what's not needed, etc. And I believe in end of 2019, it was ETC had their first 51% attack at that point, at least. And we're like, hey, can we also provide hash power to like other blockchains, right? Because proof of work security is proven to be bulletproof when you have a lot of hash rate, but your chain is just completely insecure if you don't have hash rate, right?
Yeah.
I.e. what happened with ETC. We're like, what if we can provide hash power to these guys, right? And we worked out like, yeah, you can do via merge mining if this hashing algorithm is similar, right? So we're like, all right, let's add that as a use case. And that's what led into Gather being what it is right now. And along that way, we got some notable partners. So one of them being Goldridge Group, which is 4 billion plus.
One thing I want to ask before we get into the partnerships is with regards to the merge mining, first and foremost, right? Merge mining is, really how we'd started talking for hash rate, because there's clear tie-ins to your V1 and what that's what that's developed into, and what hash rate operating system does. So where do you see the use cases for the merge mining application? Is it just for, defensive hash rate against 51% attacks, or are there other, the advertising use case, is that still kind of the main revenue driver, or do you anticipate that will be?
So I think one of the biggest aspects of the merge mining piece is the child chain. So any developer, any POW developer, right, can come and deploy a child chain on Gather. And in this case, they're going to get all that processing power, all that hash power from all these websites and applications. So it's a problem, right? When you want to launch a fair launch coin or whatever it may be, getting a community, getting miners is not easy. It's very difficult. And, initially, if you're able to get long-term miners, great, but you're going to get a lot of spec miners. You're going to have a lot of fluctuation in hash. This solves that because it's just a large pool of available processing power being thrown at all these child chains. So that's where we see a lot of use case coming out from merge mining specifically, that you have an ecosystem that you can immediately deploy.
Interesting. Yeah, I could definitely see the application there. So when it comes to the cloud aspect, right, and the development there, talk to me about how what Gather offers differs from like AWS or Microsoft Azure.
The first and biggest driver for like a big enterprise. So, we can take, I'll just use micro, small, medium, large companies, right?
Okay.
So we talk about small and medium. It's very, very clear. It's that, okay, it's just it's cost driven. It's cheaper. That's it. That's the biggest part for them. Of course, you have the reliability, it's more distributed at scale, at least. For them, it's just a purely financial decision. When we get into, let's say, the blue chips, one aspect is the innovation aspect to it, right? It's that, okay, we have a lot of cloud compute coming from these, let's say, centralized entities, which is obviously a single point of failure going forward. But again, for them, it's also cost driven. The financial aspects plays a little bit more there. Mm-hmm. And the centralized point of failure for these very large entities, if you will. There are additional concerns when you get to that level, though. So, for example, one of the biggest concerns that we have to work with is making sure we're dealing with their internal and external firewall rules properly, right? They're not going to budge for us. We need to ensure we mold our processes to them.
So let's go into more detail on that in a second. First, I want to go back to the central point of failure, because I think that's something critical that there's not a lot of talk about. Obviously, AWS, Microsoft Azure, those are the two biggest players, right? AWS by a landslide at this point in time. Even though there's a central point of failure, we don't hear about that being exploited too often. Is that really a selling point? Like, is there real concern around the central point of failure argument that you're making?
I would feel so, because that's what we've been giving to blue chips, right? Or large organizations, is that it is a huge risk whenever you have, either from a revenue standpoint, if you have one customer giving you a large chunk of revenue, if something happens there's an issue, right? Sure. Same thing applies with AWS. If you're using just AWS services for backbone of your enterprise and something happens, or let's say you just piss off AWS, in all honesty, right? There's an issue.
Good point. So when you talk about the firewalls, let's get into that on a more granular level. And we don't need to get super technical with it, but what exactly are you referring to when you're saying that you have to mold to their firewall needs and not the other way around?
So all these large enterprises have set specific rules that we need to follow, be it with the APIs, how data flow is being managed, what can be exposed, what cannot be exposed, what can connect, what cannot connect, needs to be through a third-party system. All those set specific rules, be inbound or outbound, we need to mold to them, because those aren't going to change, because every other third party they're working with follows those. However, the one good thing is that most of these guys, they follow somewhat similar rules, except if you're starting to get into like specialty services or things that are more sensitive, for example, financial services, then the rule sets start to change. But overall, in general, the rules, once you do it for one, you can it's easier to adapt for the next customer over and over.
Awesome. So we were getting into your partnerships before I so rudely cut you off. Let's talk about Godrej, because they are a behemoth.
Yes, they're an absolute behemoth. They're massive. So we knew that we wanted a lighthouse client going forward for Gather Cloud, right? That's validation at the end of the day. And we were
Right.
lucky enough to get to work with some very fine people over there who are backing us, right? Where we can use Godrej, they're letting us test bed the POC with them. They're hand holding us. It's complete. They are completely behind us at this point, where we can test bed all of Gather Cloud with them, each use case one by one, how we want, and they're being extremely flexible. Again, being an extremely large company, it opens a very large door for revenue going forward, which affects, what happens with the token, all of that going forward in the ecosystem itself. It drives a lot of growth and
Sure.
acquiring other clients as well. And then we have an oil and
Absolutely.
gas. We have one of India's oldest newspaper as a publisher signed up.
Okay, so you guys have locked down some amazing partnerships, and I know that when you say one of India's oldest newspapers, it's like 100 years old, more, right? 130, something like that. 1890.
Yeah.
Godrej is a $4 billion company, which, by the way, as a test bed, I mean, if you're going to run a pilot program, doing it for a $4 billion company is certainly a good thing. And you're going to get realistic feedback, right? Like, they're not going to sugarcoat it. They're in a position where, your contribution to what they're doing now, I'm sure it's beneficial, but I'm positive that they're vetting you for something bigger, which is fantastic for you guys, man. As you're looking now, like when you're targeting further business development, more partnerships, what's kind of the profile of the ideal partner for you?
For different, I would say for different, let's say products, if you will, right? We have multiple products. So when we use a word partner, I would like to think is a two-way partnership, and not what you see in cryptocurrency a lot of is like, hey, we partner with this guy because they're using our we're partnered with AWS because we use them.
Right.
I mean, as a two-way partnership, we can talk about one thing we're pushing heavily is on the exchanges. So if you think about it, right, we want to be able to monetize exchanges using Gather. And why? It's that a proposal that has been going out to a bunch of different, I would say, prospective clients, is that they use Gather to monetize. All these clients have their own tokens, right? They use Gather to monetize. And what happens is that we add their native token as a payout method. So what does that do on a large scale if you think about it? So let's say exchange, I don't know, man, Voss Exchange, right? Voss.finance, sure, right? They use Gather to monetize. They have a lot of users and they have Voss coin. When you're spending time on their exchange, we have a feature called a loyalty program where the publisher, where the website can opt to share a % of their earnings or all of it if they want with their users. So think about it like this. You're trading on Voss Exchange, you're spending a good amount of time there, and everything they earn, they're giving to you via the loyalty program. But
Right.
you get Voss coin specifically. So while you're spending time on there, you're getting extra native exchange tokens, which lowers the flat fees, all of that. So
Right.
that's something we want heavily going forward. And in return, what does Gather get? That we get liquidity from the exchange for our coin itself and potential listing as well, because we're earning them revenue or we're helping with customer acquisition. That's one
Absolutely.
aspect. And the same thing is going for other DeFi related projects right now. I'm talking about cryptocurrency itself, where everyone has their native token. There's some other, let's say what they're doing for Gather, I can't say right now because we're still signing them up and stuff, or signing documents, if you will. But the same kind of play applies, is that they sign up Gather, we integrate their token as a global payout. So, they're going to get their token exposed to first-time cryptocurrency users, because majority of the people who come and use Gather online are not crypto people. There are large enterprises, large publishers who come and use Gather because it's an alternative form of monetization for them.
So now they get these tokens, they've got to figure out how to offload them, right? Put it nicely. So if you're gonna take in these tokens, you want to convert it to fiat at any point in time. Let's say, hypothetically, Korean won or USD. Then you need to find the exchange that can do that. And I mean, it makes total sense. And I know when we were talking about the mining applications, you're right, man. The symbiotic partnerships are incredibly important, and one of the things that I always saw value in with what you guys were doing is that there's a great value that's passed to the end user in all of the scenarios, right? So yes, in the relationship, hash rate would benefit, Gather would benefit, but the majority of the benefits from companies that are partnering or going to partner with Gather or considering a partnership with Gather is really to the visitor to the website, the users who are then going to get to enjoy, a browsing experience while getting compensated to do it. So
Exactly.
there's tons of carryover there, and I can totally see it.
I mean, a good example is that I think we ran a poll or something on Twitter the other day, and I think a bunch of people came and commented, who do you want to see use Gather monetize? And everyone was like tagging Pornhub. So let's put it this way: you're using Pornhub and you're getting paid to watch Pornhub or use Pornhub.
It's gonna be some rich people on crypto Twitter getting paid, getting paid to watch Pornhub. Yeah, I saw the Pornhub and the OnlyFans comments. Look, it's whatever. That would be great, right? Good for all of the users of those sites. Good for Gather, and ultimately good for the sites themselves. So it's a win-win-win. It's the tripod, man. It's the tripod. So dude, right now, look, there's no two ways about this. The hype is real. Like, you guys had probably one of the fastest private sales of this season. And when I say this season, I mean this alt season. I think your private sale sold out in something like an hour.
What?
I
There was a slot, if I'm sure you're aware, that sold out in 47 seconds. A certain tranche of it, a sizable tranche, if you remember.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, it was a sizable. I mean, I think like almost half of the entire private sale sold out in 47 seconds.
Yeah,
And by the end of it, it was oversubbed by what, 25 times, something like that.
25x over sub. Yep.
Yeah. So, and you guys canceled your public sale, which I know a lot of people were looking forward to, but liquidity, I'm sure, is going to come when exchange listings, I'm sure, are around the corner. What's the so inquiring minds want to know, right? Like, from here, I don't know if you can share this. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. If you can't, tell me to go fuck myself. Um, at some point, Gather tokens will hit exchanges. What's the projection for that?
That's I can't answer that. I mean, I'm gonna let everyone use their minds. Hey, look at that social media. Look what's going on. Past performance is not a future indicator of. I forgot what the line is, but yes, no way.
See, I was like baiting you to tell me to go fuck myself. It's thank you for being polite. No, but look, Reggie, I am going to continue to monitor Gather's success. I know that there are big things in store. You guys have continued to grind, continued to bust your ass. And the coolest thing about all of this, and I don't you don't need to share market cap or anything like that, but you guys, part of the reason why your private sale sold out and was oversubbed is because you weren't raising an exorbitant amount of money, right? Like, you weren't using the sale as a way to get rich. You were using it properly as like a way to fund your business. Imagine that. And now that you guys have what you need, I'm excited to see you guys continue to hustle, because for people who have bootstrapped for 2 years, I mean, it's got to feel good to have a little bit of breathing room. But knowing you, I can also imagine that this is nowhere near the finish line.
Oh, 100%, man. A lot more to come. But yeah, touching on that point about fundraising, we're only raising what we need, honestly. Like, and I'll say publicly, like, seriously, my salary is $6,000. Like, I don't know, is that fine to say? Is that too? I feel that's like too much, maybe.
Oh, I think that's fine to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
It's not.
look,
Go on,
look,
sorry.
no, the thing is like, you have to, when you're bootstrapping a company, right? And I can speak from experience on this. You're taking the least you can take out of your company, while still allowing it to have the lifeblood that it needs to thrive. My belief is that as a stakeholder, as an equity holder, yes, at some point you'd like to take a livable salary, right? You'd like to take a salary that's like, great, like I can now like have the finer things in life, like air conditioning and food, right? But until then, you grind. And I
Yeah.
respect that, man. I respect you sharing what your salary is. It gives people an honest snapshot of like who is behind a project. And like nothing is worse for a project than a CEO who's overpaid, because there's no motivation, man. You lose, like, if you're making $150,000 a year right now, maybe you lose your drive. Maybe it's like your edge isn't as sharp. So I respect it, man.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, just again, take what we need. That's it, man. Work on budgets, runways. Yeah, honestly. Again, and you know what? I would want to say this. Anyone think of building a crypto project or doing something in crypto, especially a blockchain and based on the business, you need to treat it like a startup and not this whole hype machines that you see people raising like 20, 30 million. Look for the real value in like what you're doing and treat it like a business. I think a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah.
Well, it's tough because I think in some people's minds, like, yeah, when you see people that are raising, it's natural, right? It's a natural inclination to want to buy into the hype because most people aren't looking for the long-term value that a project can provide. But it's kind of a catch-22 because if you're not investing and you're not really paying attention to the potential long-term value of a company, you're going to end up getting burned, right? That's when you get the rug pulls and the scams and all of that shit that we've all become, too familiar with, frankly speaking.
Yeah.
But you're spot on, man. You're spot on. This is still a startup community, and you guys are, dude, you're fucking wrecking it. Like I'm so amped for you, man. Like it's so awesome to get to see this because because I know, man, we've had conversations through the bear market as you guys are bootstrapping yourself, like as you guys were, planning an ICO, and as that didn't come to fruition, like I've seen like the whole emotional range of it all. And dude, this is awesome.
To put it lightly, yeah, man, it's a long time coming, and it's basically just almost a start at this point, right? We have a lot to do from here, and I have all the conviction in the world that this is really gonna blow up really, really soon. I mean, let me give you a hint. Like, we don't need to advertise to get clients. That's how easy it is for us to get publishers right now, because no one wants ads. Ads are crap.
You don't need to advertise to get clients, and then your clients don't need to take advertising to run their site. So it's it all works out, man. It's like the circle of life, Reggie.
Amen.
Fuck,
Amen.
that's my dad joke for the day. All right, I'm done with that shit. But no, dude, Reggie, look, thank you for coming on the show. I enjoyed this talk. I hope that everyone has an accurate snapshot of what Gather is trying to do. We're definitely going to have you on again as time progresses. Well, hopefully you remember lowly BullishAF podcast when you when you're helping every publishing site in the world not have to use ads anymore. But dude, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Bro, it's been awesome. Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
All right, guys, BullishAF, thank you guys for tuning into the show. I appreciate you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, do all that other shit that you need to do to support the channel. I appreciate you guys very much for tuning into the show. Keep an eye out for Gather. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys again very soon. Take care. Stay bullish. Thanks for watching this episode of BullishAF, a Hashrate Media production. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more great content like this every day of the week. In addition, feel free to leave a comment below and let us know who you'd like to see on the next episode of BullishAF. Also, if you head over to hashrate.com, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, Difficulty Adjustment. Every Wednesday morning, we provide you with the latest news and information on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and mining. Plus, each week, one newsletter subscriber will be selected at random to receive a free Ledger Nano S cryptocurrency wallet. So go ahead and sign up today. Who knows, you may be the next lucky winner. Want more from Hashrate? Go ahead and follow Hashrate TV on Twitter. It's the easiest way to keep track of our newest content all in one place. That's at HASHR8_TV. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you very soon. Please remember that all content appearing on this or any other hash rate channel is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. You should not construe any such information as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Consult a licensed financial advisor before investing yours or anyone else's money.